Hello and welcome to Diary of a Common Man. My name is Salim Lalani, and today I'm honored to have a very special guest, Professor Parapia. His qualifications and his credentials is a very long list. He is a professor of hematology and he has lectured in many universities, including AgaKhan Hospital and University in Kenya and in Pakistan. But let me introduce. Let me ask Dr. Parapia himself as to what his credentials are. So, welcome to the show, Professor Parapia.
Thank you very much, Salim, for asking me. Haven't had the opportunity to give my views on what happened to me when I was a child in Kenya, and since then also while I've been in UK. I've been busy with my work. I'm retired now, 15 years from the health service, but it's
Yes,
great to have this opportunity from you. Thank you.
thank you. No, it is my privilege and my honor to have you here because we desperately need people to speak, to open up, and 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 make people aware of the abuse that is going on um, in the Ismaili system. So I would like your views, obviously, on that during the course of this interview. So, before we start, could you please tell our audience a little bit about your background as to where you were born and how did you come about from qualification perspective, from family perspective, from religious perspective? Yeah, tell us a little bit about yourself.
Well, I was born in Nairobi, in a very Ismaili environment, in a very Ismaili family. Um, we weren't particularly rich or anything like that, but it was in the 50s. Kenya was prospering, and so was my family very gradually.
Yes.
Um, my parents were very young by the time four of us were born. So my mother was 20 by the time she had four children. Um, my father worked for initially for Nafi, and then he started his own business, car business, along with his brothers and so on. Um, Now in the 50s, my father was getting more and more interested in what was happening in the Ismaili mosques and the relationship between the Ismailia Council and the common people, ordinary people. And he, like you, was giving his opinions. Um, there were constructive criticisms, but Ismailis at that time were very sensitive, incredibly sensitive to any form of criticism. Not just criticism, any form of comment. And at that time, as you've said this in your previous broadcast, one of the weapons that the Ismailis Council and AgaKhan used was to excommunicate people. Now it's interesting because in one of your broadcasts, you mentioned it was like a death sentence. Those are the words you used. And it was a form of death sentence because we were socially isolated. Now, my father was not only excommunicated, um, he was assaulted. A group
Oh,
of Ismaili women got together and assaulted him and injured him. Now, the thing is, he's a very strong man. I mean, he could have killed one or all of them if he wanted to, but he was not sort of person who would hit a woman. But this was all part of the humiliation. Now, what the Ismailis didn't, Ismaili Council and many of the Ismailis didn't realize, and neither did AgaKhan, um, was when they humiliate one person who has a family, they are humiliating the whole family. That we were actually, it affected our whole family, particularly my mother, um, who, as you know, women tend to be more conscious of their social status. And
Yeah,
my sister, she was, we had to live in an environment that although we were Ismailis, we wherever we went or whatever we did, we could not participate fully as normal Ismailis. So we all went to schools, we didn't go to Ismaili schools. Our friends had to be Hindus, um, mostly, they could be other Muslims and so on. Um, in a sense, they did me a favor because I became quite sort of, I didn't have any form of bias or racialism to other people, while Ismailis tended to stick together. Um, Now, I'll come back to that, but we, you will say that did Aga Khan know about this excommunication? Well, there is my father meeting the Aga Khan,
okay.
okay, in person,
Yeah,
explaining to him that the adjustments that Ismaili practices, how they should be adjusted. And so he knew about the excommunication. Now, this is archaic. A man who's been to Harvard taking part in practices that are incredibly cruel. My father didn't wasn't put up to trial. He had not committed any crime. Now you got to put yourself back and think. Here's a 10-year-old boy, and suddenly finds that his father has been got at. He's been beaten up by Ismailis. We have notices on our door threatening to kill him. And just imagine, and I'd like people listening to this to think what effect it has on a young boy of 10. And when you think that there were four of us, three brothers and one sister, the trauma of it is just incredible. And those scars still remain, they're still there. And which is why I'm so glad that you asked me to talk to today. Because I would like the Ismaili to, to put themselves back. Maybe the people in the Ismaili Council have died, but they've got children and families. There'll be members of Ismaili Council listening to this. Aga Khan might get the message, and I think they should apologize to our family for the harm
absolutely.
that they you know,
Absolutely.
what they did was social isolation, which left scars. Anyway, but that was when I was around about 10 years old, and my poor mother, she suffered incredibly. I cannot tell you how much pain she had because her community was Ismaili community. Our relatives were Ismailis. Um, anyway,
Did your
I
mother did
we
your mother leave your father?
no, no,
That is
no,
amazing. I
no.
salute your mother.
She stuck by him, but she remained an Ismaili. But when she died, she had a Muslim burial because she she gradually felt that my father would become a Muslim, Sunni Muslim. That she felt that although she was Ismaili, that her beliefs were Islamic rather than Ismaili. Um, but I had
Okay.
when I was a kid and we were a kid, I'd seen it all the things that you talk about. That where they talk about dasons and giving money, and when you give a shilling, you'll get sawalak in heaven.
Mm,
you know, all that sort of rubbish. AgaKhan is on the moon, you can see him. And if you say you
yeah.
couldn't argue against all these things, absolute rubbish. My father simply had said things like you said, and he used to say, "Why do you pray to Aga Khan? Why do you have his picture? In the mosque itself. So in the prayer room, his picture would be everywhere. They'd be praying
Yeah.
to him.
Yeah.
Um, why do you auction food when it should be given to the poor? Why isn't there no accounts of money that you collect? Why don't you? Where's the bookkeeping? People were giving cash all the time, a lot of cash, and then there are all these different clubs. 5,000 ne, 10,000 ne, you know, you,
Mm.
you, you
It's
you
never
got yourself
ending.
into different clubs. Yeah,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
wh- so where was the place for the poor? They couldn't buy the food. They couldn't join these clubs. Um, you know, th- there was no social service there in Kenya, like in lots of places now. So why weren't these people sort of benefiting from all this? The hospitals and the hospitals people had to pay for treatments. It wasn't free for Ismailis. But anyway, I'm carrying on a bit. I One of the things that my father believed for all of us was to educate us. If he had education, then we could make our own way, and also if he had education, we could stand up to people like the AgaKhan and the Ismaili Council and so on. I came to Britain when I was 17.
Right.
I had very little to do. I had very little to do with Ismailis. I have Ismaili friends. I I enjoy Ismaili community. I enjoy their hospitality. I enjoy the language. When I have a bit of Kachi, it's great. There, many of them are well educated. But what I cannot understand is how, for so many years, that Aga Khan has got away, many of the Ismaili Council people, that they've got away with a system that is really for the Aga Khan. It's not a system for the common man. That's why I'm very proud of you. I think you've done a very good job. You're very brave as well. So anyway, I'm talking quite a lot. You asked me what you really want to know. What else you want to know?
Yeah. So no, that gave me a really good background as to where you came from in Kenya and what happened to your father and how cruel the whole episode was. And what touched me was that that episode in the childhood has still it has left its mark in your life, and it's those scars are still there after so many decades. So and that is how the inhuman practice of excommunication works, is that it is so cruel that people will think twice before raising their voice. To me, that is dictatorship, that is authoritarianism. And obviously, as you said, it is cruel. It does not befit educated community at all. It does not befit somebody who claims to be a humanitarian at all. As far as you're concerned about how come they have got away with blue murder, there are many reasons for that, and I'm hoping to do an episode only on that. There are many, many reasons. Some reasons are above the ground, some are underground, but it is a very complex subject, and I'm well versed with it, and I will talk about it. But coming back to you, the way you see, tell me something. After your father was excommunicated, and your mother and your family and your siblings suffered, yourself suffered incredibly, how did you ever go to Jamaat Khana after that during your life?
I personally, um, I've very rarely, not so much Jamaat Khan, but I like the Ismaili social functions.
Yes,
You know,
so do I.
they were, yeah. I think there nobody organizes a good social party. Nobody does it better than Ismailis, and
I
nobody
agree.
cooks better than Ismaili.
Hmm.
Our food is probably the best in the world. But if
Yes,
I made friends with Ismaili girls when I was in Nairobi, they would soon find out who my father was, and next I knew they wouldn't talk to me.
they wouldn't talk to
Um,
you. Yeah.
yeah, so the Khana I never went to pray there since then, from that time. But I,
Right,
I have been to funerals. I have been to funerals, and I've entered.
right.
Um, I I was given, by the way, the to show that the Ismailis can't, they they couldn't control everything. It was they actually in London they called me up and gave me an award for achievement, which I went to receive with no problem at all.
Wow.
Um,
And you also lectured in
um,
Aga Khan Hospital, isn't it? You lectured in Aga Khan
yes, and
Hospital.
I was invited to lecture in Karachi, which I did, and incredibly, I found that the private hospital in Karachi wasn't free actually. It was a very good hospital. The equipment was better than the hospital I had in Bradford here. Um, the doctors very well trained and everything, but people had to pay. It was question of it cost a lot of money. At that time, it's about 20 years ago, 25 years ago, I went there, and the doctors were extremely well treated. Um, and I've lectured at the AgaKhan Hospital. Again, very good hospitals, and they employ doctors from all sorts of races. And although I think Ismailis must be given a priority, but you have to pay. These are not free hospitals. Now,
So
what
it
I
is not
find,
it is not a
Salim,
charitable organization. It is a commercial
yeah, but
organization. Yeah.
yes, but you know what? I I tried to read up a bit before coming on today, and Aga Khan. I mean, Wikipedia. They all say it straight that his money came from the people, and they say Ismailis give 18 to 20% of their wealth, for their earnings to Aga Khan, and he's one of the top richest men, maybe worth, I don't know. You're
Billions.
talking of billions, yeah. And I was thinking, if there's only 15 million Ismailis, which is an exaggeration because I think they're far less, really, for all the money that Ismailis put in, they don't have a share in any of the assets that Aga Khan's got. He owns everything. He owns the hospitals. He owns the schools. He owns islands. He owns banks. Why don't Ismailis have a share in this? Why not a single share for any of the Ismailis in this? And the money came from Ismailis. He made his fortune from Ismail because his grandfather was pretty well broke. His
Yes, he was a
grandfather
pensioner. Yeah,
actually
he
went
was a
to,
pensioner.
yeah, went to. So really, to me, if he's truly spiritual or even a good leader, even if he was a benevolent leader, every Ismaili should be getting free education, free university, free health service. They should even get some money because the billions he's got and the amount it's generating, what he gives is very little. He does give it. There are good things that they're done, but he owns. They're all private enterprises mostly. Very little of it is actually charity. His AgaKhan Foundation is a private enterprise. Um,
It is.
but I was quite shocked to think here's a if he's a leader, um, then you've got to say what qualities should a leader have. If he's spiritual and if he's anything to do with God or prophet, then he is a very poor example of a holy man.
Correct.
So if I was to follow him, I'd say, okay, he's a leader, he's imam, he's, you know, Molana Hazar Imam, that sort of. I will follow his example. So how should I get a couple of divorces? Should I spend money on women? What should I invest in? In hotels that sell alcohol? Should I invest in horses to be the one of the? Maybe Ismaili should buy horses and gamble. Is that the example I want to follow? No, thank you.
Correct.
Okay, I do not want to follow a man who is a poor example of everything he stands for. And all right, a lot of Ismailis believe he's the person to follow. Well, fine, not me. Okay, and my father was right. So I think Ismailis have got to rethink really that
So,
Ismailis are
Professor,
very intelligent people.
they are intelligent, I agree with you, but if they are intelligent, then what makes them revere a person who is not spiritual, who is not a good example for other people, leave alone a representative of God? Why do they revere him if they are intelligent?
Well, there are two groups in Ismailis. Actually, a lot of people do listen to you, by the way, but they're too frightened to come forward. They do know about you. There are people who know about you. You know. I'll give you an example. There was a lady who rings me, and this is a very good thing about the Ismailis, by the way. They find out old people, over 70, people who are also, and they ring them and say, "How are you? Are you doing all right? Do you need any help?" People, Ismailis who are registered Ismailis, they ring up, and this woman rings me regularly. She might be listening to this. I don't know. She rings me regularly, last few years. And then last time I said, "Do you realize who I am?" I said, "I'm son of an excommunicated man who was treated very badly by Ismailis." And she's, she's, she wasn't shocked. She said, there's a lot of people in London who don't care about that, but because it's a community, and it can be a very good community. I can give you lots of examples about good community actions that they do. They stick together, and he's at the sort of fulcrum, isn't he? But the other thing is, obviously, there's always threats of putting people aside. Not excommunicate. They don't excommunicate anymore because that would land up in a court. If I was excommunicated and I challenge them to do it, I'll take them to court. That
Yes,
I'll take legal action. What right would
yes,
they have to abuse me? But I think a lot of people just tolerate and enjoy the social aspects of it. I think the money that they collect is less now. And Salim, can I tell you about the money? Uh, I do a lot of charity work. If you look on the Google and things, we've set up centers in India and we've helped. And last week, 2 weeks ago, I collected money for Gaza, etc. Well, we we need to. There are charities. There are people who need money more than giving it to the Ismaili AgaKhan Foundation or whatever. I think Ismaili should play a greater role internationally. I'm, you know, I I don't know. I might be wrong, because I'm not that much in touch. But um, I think Aga Khan, with his billions, it's very low key about Gaza, about Syria. I mean, we are meant to be Shias. How far is he helping the Shias, the poor Shias, the millions of poor Shias in trouble? I don't know. I might not be.
There are, Professor
There are a lot
Parapia,
of
there are
poor Ismailis
millions.
as well.
Exactly. There are lots of Ismailis, not only poor, but they are in fear of their lives on a daily basis as we speak. Okay,
Yes,
particularly in Syria, particularly in Afghanistan. On a daily basis, they are in fear of their lives, and Aga Khan would not have anything to do with them. Leave alone the Shia, leave alone the Gaza, and leave alone any other humanitarian crisis that is going on. So, my struggle is to make Ismailis wake up that the money that you're giving to the Jamaat Khana or Aga Khan Foundation is not given to the people who need it. It some way or the other, it goes into Aga Khan's coffers, and nowadays the money is going into the coffers of his top leadership as well. So people are becoming millionaires and multimillionaires. The leadership, leave alone Aga Khan, people who were completely nothing financially, now they are multimillionaires in Jamaat Khana. And I have got an example in Sydney, a small Jamaat like that in Sydney, where people are dipping their hands into the religious money that is coming in Jamaat Khana. So, Professor Parapia, it is a massive scam that I'm fighting against. And I want to make sure that the money goes to the poor. That is the purpose of my campaign. So, but I do want to ask you some more questions. Now, you, if anybody understands that this is a scam, it is you, because your father raised his voice and you have suffered the consequences. So you know it is a scam. What do you think should be done to make people aware, apart from whatever little I'm doing on the internet?
well, I think it's for Ismailis themselves. I think they need to get organized. They ought to relook at leadership, within the community. I think they should be more transparent with the money. It should be more accountable. Um,
But why would they be accountable if the purpose is to accumulate wealth? The purpose is
well,
to
I,
scam
for a
people.
start, I don't think any money should go to Aga Khan himself. When people give
Correct.
money and then it's, I mean, Wikipedia, anywhere you read, it says that his wealth comes from the money that Ismailis give. I think first of all they should stop totally giving because he doesn't need it. He should be
Correct.
giving money to the Ismailis, not the other way around. And
Correct.
I think all the Ismaili mosques and wherever money is involved, they should be given charitable status and they should be registered with a charity. What do they call it? The Central Charity Register. Um,
Can I make a
with
comment
giving.
here? Okay. Your suggestion that it should be made converted into a charitable organization. Can I break some news for you? They are registered as charitable organizations, but they fool the government. What they do is they say to the government when registering the organization that we are a charity, okay, and we do welfare services. We help people with food, education, health. We do all that, Okay, and they fabricate the evidence to show the government if there is an audit. That is one method. Another method is to collect $100 and do the charity for $5, and $95 will be laundered to Aga Khan's bank account. That's what they do.
Well,
So yeah,
this is where no money should go to the Aga Khan, as far as I'm concerned, because he's got more than enough. He can be charitable to the Ismailis, but what I I have started. I've been part of lots of charities. As you can find this out very easily. Raised several million pounds, built a ward um, in Bradford from money we raised. Done millions and millions. In I've been involved in total maybe up to 10 million pounds. Have trustees, credible, proper trustees, and have external people as trustees. Maybe non-Ismailis. Have people that have got who have a great standing in society. You know, have auditors. Get independent auditors. Um, run it like professional organizations. Uh, Maybe some of it they do, but I think this business about that he owns everything, including mosques. I mean, I was quite surprised. Nairobi Mosque, the Kojak Khana Mosque. I don't think Ismailis realize it belongs to him personally. That he personally owns schools and hospitals and everything. But it needs to be brought to. They should claim this back. I think all that should come back into a charitable foundation with trustees and external auditors and so on. It should. He doesn't need all this. He doesn't need to own hospitals and schools.
correct. But the thing is that, see, what you said is absolutely right. You yourself have participated in charities which are transparent. But Professor Parapia, the problem here is that your intention is clear, your conscience is clear. Your intentions are clear. You want to help the poor and the needy. But
Absolutely.
on the other side, the intentions are not good. The intention is to scam people. Jamaat Khana is a scam, one big scam, where people are led to believe that Aga Khan is serving the humanity, so we should give him money and we should never question it. So people don't question it. Now, if they question it, then they get excommunicated. If they question it, there are consequences, like what happened to me. Okay, they completely destroyed me, but they couldn't. Okay, they ostracized me. It had an impact on my family, where in the sense that I'm now alone. Nobody is with me. My wife left me. My children left me. My grandchildren, I haven't seen them. My business collapsed. Everything happened to me. This is the design of the evil cult that I call. Okay, so the problem is that people still want to give to Aga Khan. That is the problem. They still believe, despite being educated, despite being intelligent, they want to give Aga Khan knowing that this is a scam. Why? Because they want to participate in a social club.
Absolutely. I
So
agree. And there are benefits to being in the club.
there are benefits, but at what expense? At the
I agree.
expense of at the expense of your conscience, at the expense of the poor people that deserve that money. That is the price of the club. So it is a very dishonest system with bad intentions, not only from Aga Khan but from the Murids as well. Murids are participating in the scam because they want to participate in a social club. It is their selfish motive. So what we are fighting is the element of trust and indoctrination. The mind has been captured. Minds of the intelligent people has been captured into believing that we must give to Aga Khan. If we don't, then we will go to hell. And if we don't, then we won't be able to participate in the club that we enjoy. In fact, in London, this is about a year or so ago, is that you might know if you watch my videos, my message has been very clear that go to the club. It's a good thing, but do not give money to the fraud.
No, that's right.
That has been my message all along. And then what happened is that a group of people in all around the world, I got the message that people began to give money to their relatives who needed the money, and they did not give in the Jamaat Khana. The system got so concerned about it that the Council for United Kingdom, they made an announcement in the Jamaat Khana that we have come to understand that some people are helping each other within the community. That is not allowed. If you are found to be doing that and not giving the money to Mukhi Sahib, then disciplinary action will be taken against you. This is an announcement made, and I have a copy of it, which I put on my episode. How clear is the authoritarianism? How clear is the dictatorship? Can it be any clearer than that? That you cannot help your brother. You have to give the money to Aga Khan.
Yeah, but I think it's for the Ismailis themselves to. I mean, they're a good community. They're a clever community. That's why we like them in Nairobi because they were westernized, more westernized and easier to get on with, etc. But it's for the Ismailis themselves to get their house in order. Because what will happen otherwise is it's it's going to disappear, isn't it, slowly? And it's you've got 50% of the marriages, Ismaili marriages, are outside the community now. They're trying to get the people they marry to come back in to come to the mosque, but there's it's still full of secrecy. That the khan- khanas are closing, aren't they? The numbers are reducing, like the Christian churches. Young people prefer to have their social lives, quality time themselves. I think there is a lot of promise within the Ismaili community because they are intelligent, they are well off, they're rich, but they must get organized themselves. It's not for people like me who are, I'm 75 now. It's it's for the younger ones to get mobilized and do something and demand from the Aga Khan that they want a proper structure. You know, I don't know. You know more about this, but Salim. By the way, I'll just tell you the fact that they what they excommunicated my father and so on, but they weren't able to stop my progress because fortunately there are a lot of very nice people in the world who don't worry about whether you're Ismaili or not. And I have a Christian wife, English wife, and I have kids, and they're very happy and they're accomplished. We have happy families. I have Ismaili friends and relatives who I get on well. After this program, maybe some of them won't talk to me, but but they must get
I won't be
organized. They must do
surprised.
something. Salim, they couldn't do anything to me in the last 50, 60 years, or by 75 years, 70 years. They're not going to be able to do anything now. There's no point in even trying
No, they won't.
because I'll get the better of them. No, I'll get the
Okay.
better of them. So,
Yes, absolutely. But Professor Parapia, it has been wonderful talking to you, and I hope that you will join us again because it is very important for us to sh- to uh, make sure that we understand your views on the issue and the solution to the problem. I would like to discuss that with you next time as to how do we get the young people to mobilize themselves and demand reform. I'm trying my best uh, to demand the reform, but unfortunately, the leadership, for obvious reasons, are avoiding me. Uh, they cannot come and meet me because they know that I'm going to ask for reforms, and reform is give the money to the poor, and that they cannot do. They cannot give the money to the poor and the needy. They have to give it to Aga Khan, and they have to keep their share in it. So they are not going to talk to me. It is going to be the Jamaat, it is going to be the young people and people like yourself and myself to do something about it and put the pressure on the leadership to come forward and have a dialogue and come to some kind of a solution to this issue. But because this vulgarity, this lust for money cannot go on forever, it has to stop. We are living in a civilized society, and Aga Khan has got away with blue murder. He has not only not given, but he has given an impression that he is giving. Okay. He is a humanitarian where he is actually a selfish individual. He has not helped anybody. He has only helped himself and his leadership hierarchy. So, I would like to talk to you once again if that is okay with you.
yes, and I think it might be a good idea to get Sultan Bhatia in the conversation as well. Maybe have a,
Yes, we will.
you know,
We will get.
and
There are
involve
a
other
couple of other
people.
people. There are a couple of other people as well who we will get on board, and we will discuss this amongst ourselves as to what can be done to improve the situation a little bit. If we can help uh, this suffering, help alleviate the suffering of so many Ismailis around the world, whatever we can do, I think it will go against our deeds. So, once again, Professor Parapia, I
Yeah.
really, really
Um,
appreciate your time. Yeah, and I hope to interview you again.
Salim, thank you very much. The only thing I need to say is that I've got various medical problems, so how much help and how much involvement I have could be limited by my medical, because I've got a few things
Absolutely.
that are happening to me.
Absolutely.
So, but we will
Absolutely.
keep in touch, and I'm very very proud of you because you're not. I think what you're doing is God's work really. So keep it up.
Thank you. Thank you.
Mhm.
I appreciate. So, thank you once again. I'll see you next time around.
Thank you.
Bye bye.
Bye.